That was quite a predictable move, Kaiba, and one which I was well prepared to deflect, so I have emerged untouched.
But what about your friend Lumis?
Me?
Yes, Lumis, don't you wonder what would have happened had my Blue Eyes White Dragon attacked you instead of Umbra? Would he have protected you with his magic card? Or would he have let you lose? That's the danger in depending on someone else to help you when the reality is there's only one person you can trust. Yourself.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News Anime Night, where we discuss, in this particular set of episodes, the Battle City Duels of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this, and joining me is my usual panel of fellow geeks, fellow awesome guys in general. But before I get to the introductions, Alex, I need you to do me a favor.
Okay.
First of all, I need you to stand on that totally not unsafe top of the building business window.
Okay.
Second, I
What
need you to
next?
stand perfectly still.
Okay.
Third, I need you to completely ignore the fact that I am attaching a bomb to it that when your life points go to 0, you will fall through it and not enter the Shadow Realm.
Okay.
All right. Because you enter the Shadow Realm regularly, so that wouldn't be a punishment for you. We already covered this, Brenton, because he apparently has to step out of the shadows for his morning commute every day. So, so Alex the Shadow Blazer, how are you doing this fine day and night, whatever?
Guess I'm okay, but it's also been a bit of a week for me.
Yes, especially since you and I have been coming back from vacation, so that has not helped the situation any.
For sure.
So yeah, and then also joining us is Brenton Volley. But Brenton, I honestly, I gotta say this. I don't know why you're here. This podcast doesn't necessarily, or this podcast episode doesn't necessarily need you. So I think you can have the night off. Oh, sorry. Wait. That's so unprofessional. Yes, hello. Yes. Oh my. Well, that does change things now, doesn't it? Brenton, I have some bad news. Your favorite puppy has been kidnapped, and if you don't do this podcast episode, they will execute it on live YouTube. So I guess you're stuck for this episode, aren't you?
You know, I had a whole joke planned where I was going to leave the Discord, and then you said that, so now I can't do it.
Brenton, how are you?
I'm good. All things considering, I'm good. I'm doing good.
All right, and today we're going to be discussing an episode that I thought we were going to have a lot more problems with, but I guess we'll get into it. We're going to be talking the Double Trouble Duel, because it's going to be Yugi and Seto Kaiba versus Lumis and Umbra. And if people don't remember who Lumis and Umbra are, they are the two schmucks that were squashed by Kaiba in the Legendary Fisherman. So apparently they are now a legitimate threat, unlike when we fought them, or when we dueled them the first time. And so we will be talking this unique tag duel, because here's what makes it unique. Yugi and Kaiba, not necessarily the best of friends. And because of that, not necessarily the best of tag team partners. Is that safe to say?
More than safe to say.
I completely agree with you.
So that's technically the stakes here. We have Yugi, which is bringing his usual spellcaster warrior deck, along with Seto Kaiba, who's usually bringing his usual dragon theme deck, as well as Lumis and Umbra, who, as you guys will find out watching this episode, have a particular theme in mind with their decks, and that is masks. They actually are the showcase of a bunch of mask cards that were brought to the TCG, and even some that didn't make it until the GX days. That's when those mask cards actually made it. So people were wondering, like, when are we going to get these? And I'll get into those as we go along. But given the stakes that are set up, first of all, we have the regular Battle City stakes, which is everybody puts up a locator card. because Kaiba wants us to care about that plot device whether we want to or not. And so 1 locator card each, and the rarest card, however, I don't think they actually figure out what the rarest card is of Lumis and Umbra, but of course their Egyptian god cards are on the line. So at that point, here are our stakes. Also, the arena is a stake because they are all standing on a giant business sky view window. And when their life points hit 0, a bomb will explode the window and they will fall to their death. I mean, the Shadow Realm. I have problems with this already, but I'll get into those in a minute.
Well, oh no, I figured you would. As soon as I saw that scene, I was like, Adam's gonna have words.
Oh, I have lots of words. So yeah, those are the stakes that are basically being put in. Just before getting into this duel, what is you guys' take on Lumis and Umbra versus Yugi and Kaiba? Like, what do you think is going to be Lumis and Umbra's strengths? What do you think is going to be Yugi and Kaiba's strengths? So let's start with Brenton.
That's that's an interesting question to ask because we already know like what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite sure how to answer that.
Okay, go into the cons. The cons are that Yugi and Kaiba don't like each other.
Exactly.
Yes.
Kaiba is selfish.
Yes.
And he's only thinking about himself.
Yes.
While Yugi, who's willing to put aside differences, consistently makes those attempts.
Well, and on top of that, he's super aggressive right now because he has to find his friends. So
exactly,
he's not exactly in the most talkative of moods either. So, at that point, we have some elevated stress going on right now. And it also doesn't help that, Kaiba didn't really have any motivation to get into this duel until Mokuba got captured. God damn it. He's got to put that kid on a leash.
I felt the exact same thing.
I literally, I don't know if Little Karibo did this joke, but he has to do this joke with this. It's just like, I have absolutely no stakes in this whatsoever. Sir, your brother's been kidnapped again. God damn it. Put that kid on a leash.
He does make a similar joke. Like, he says, I should really put him on a leash.
Yes, thank you. Because that's exactly what Kaiba should do. So he's also got elevated stress because he's trying to save Mokuba.
For like how cold Seto Kaiba consistently comes across, and it's just like it's amazing how much affection he has for his brother, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I always question this because I immediately go to the Noah arc and how he screwed Mokuba. And so I'm like, is he affectionate towards Mokuba? Or is it just that he's trying to hide all of his dirty little secrets? I don't know. Either or. Because he definitely has... Mokuba has basically been Seto's whipping boy since they were kids. Especially with the lore that we learn in Duelist Kingdom and also later in it. Poor little Mokuba. He needs Yugi as a big brother. He doesn't need Seto as an older brother. Seto's cold and also Ric Flair. So
stop it.
He is the Ric Flair of anime. I will die on this hill.
I'll set it on fire for you then.
And I'll be the dog in the meme. This is fine. So there's basically the stakes. If Yugi and Kaiba win, not only do they get the locator cards, Lumis and Umbra will tell them where Yugi's friends are, as well as where Mokuba is. And if they win, they get their god cards, which is basically what Merrick wants. Now, before we get into the duel itself, I'm inclined here to do the side plots, because if people don't know this, Double Trouble Duel is 4 parts. Which means we have 2 other B storylines that are going on at this time. And the first one basically being that Merrick finds Taya and Joey and has them abducted by the Rare Hunters. And then ultimately brainwashed by the Millennium Rod to be his new mind slaves. And then we also have a C plot where Mokuba was actually looking into where Joey Wheeler was, and then proceeded to get kidnapped by the Rare Hunters. So they're that's why I say they're both a B plot, is because they're all linked up together. So at that point, like, what did we think of the B plot that was going on here, where Taya and Joey and Mokuba were all being captured and trying to escape and whatnot? Was this a good side plot for people? Was it bad?
For me, it's fine because again, it relates to the overall plot of Yugi and Kaiba having to duel and having to duel together to
Yes.
rescue everybody. I think
Yes.
the plot that wasn't needed was the C plot with Serenity and Tristan.
Oh, yeah, actually, we'll get into that too. But yeah, the B plot here actually is good, because this is one thing I've got to say about these 4 episodes. They did a really good job of making Merrick a very smart villain. And we'll go into those details as we go along, but he gets a lot of moments where he is very crafty, and he's got a strategy in mind. In fact, one of the things we learn is that, this double duel, which takes up most of these episodes, is ultimately a distraction. So at that point, Yugi and Kaiba are busy with Lumis and Umbra while Merrick does his shit, and basically tries to get the leverage back on his side, because now he doesn't have Slifer. So overall, I would agree with you. I think it's actually a fairly good B plot that is going on with plenty of tension. I mean, I especially love the concept of Taya and Mokuba trying to get out, and Taya basically has to sacrifice herself so that Mokuba can escape, which is kind of silly because Mokuba's been kidnapped so many times. You'd think he would just know how to escape by now. You'd think he would just be the Houdini of how to escape hostage situations, but he's not. Not yet. I'm just
Give
saying.
him some time.
Yeah, give him some time. Brinton, what did you think of this B plot?
I think you and Alex have really stated what needed to be said about it, and it's even it has changed my opinion on it, because I typically, or lately, when watching these episodes, have been avoiding them just because of time constraint.
Yes.
However, initially I didn't really feel it added a whole lot to what I was watching, but based on what you guys are saying, I would change my own internal opinion to agree that it was important for us to see what was going on, and to see that Merrick's plan came to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that going to mean for our quote unquote heroes?
And on top of that, it also kind of sets up the duel after this, which is going to be Yugi versus Merrick controlled Joey. So at that point, that's going to be a whole other animal, and the way that they did it was fine. But here's the thing, you're not entirely unjustified, Brinton, because now we're going to go into the C plot where Tristan got eternally friend-zoned by Serenity. Okay, thoughts on this C plot? I actually laughed when Tristan got put in the friend zone, just because I totally saw that coming, and even though I thought it was kind of a heartwarming moment, Serenity just wrecked it. I hate to quote Miley Cyrus here, but she came in like a wrecking ball, and destroyed Tristan's hopes and dreams. Alex, what did you think of the C plot?
It was pointless. It should have been reserved for a Joey-centric episode.
Yes, I completely agree. Or maybe even as a little bit of a side plot in maybe the next episode where it would have been a lot more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But instead they put it here. Because the problem is that they actually do have kind of a heartwarming moment, and they actually do kind of get closer, so to speak. And a lot of that is just because Tristan isn't trying to be a braggart. He's actually trying to be upfront with Serenity and trying to be a good friend, as opposed to what he's been doing this whole time, where I'm the super duper expert in duel monsters. He's been actually honest and open with her, and also helping her with her apprehensions about taking the bandages off. Brinton, what did you think of this?
Creepy and unneeded. He's been so creepy with his like best friend's sister, and it's like, dude, that's your best friend's sister. Why are you being so creepy?
Yeah, no,
You know,
no, you're not wrong.
like, for lack of a better opinion and words, I suppose, it just no. I didn't like it before. Any of the times there were interactions between those two, it was just like, nope, this is weird.
Yeah.
It reminded me of all the times on my Mormon mission, when all the mission like super horny elders would look at pictures of my sisters and be like, when I go home, I'm gonna marry them. And it's like, that's creepy.
See, what came to my mind was like, I tend to not be a fan of sitcoms. I actually can't stand them because unfortunately, because of my education, I know more about how sitcoms work than most. And so I know the psychological factors that go into it, and it annoys the fuck out of me. I'm not gonna spoil all of that, but it actually made me think of like that stereotypical episode in a sitcom where the young girl character is finally hitting that wonderful age where she's starting to fill out, so to speak, and that's when all like her older brother and their friends start to notice that. And so at that point, that's what that felt like. Is like, oh, okay, well, she's been in the hospital for this entire time. Oh, now we can take her out, and this can be kind of a quasi date. Oh, wow, you're Joey's sister, but you're kind of hot, and that's exactly what was going on through my mind.
It's creepy.
It kind of is, yeah. And unfortunately, you and I know it's only going to get worse because then Duke Devlin will get involved. So then we have this weird love triangle that'll start happening, which is really stupid because neither one of them win. Because I think, I mean, you've probably read all the manga. Does Serenity end up with anybody? I don't think she even gets any highlights in the rest of the series. I might be wrong about that, but she didn't show up in like Waking the Dragons.
I don't remember. Yeah. I apologize.
No, it's all good. But that's kind of what I'm thinking is like she basically got written off as we can't use her as motivation for Joey anymore. So we have to find different motivation for Joey. And so she was never heard from again, which is okay because she basically friend-zoned everybody in Yugi's group. I'm pretty sure Taya even got friend-zoned. So at that point, let's get into the duel itself. So it's a tag team duel, but it is the way that they have it going is basically kind of round robin where I think it's Lumis first, then Yugi, and then Umbra goes before Kaiba. So it's a zigzag. So with that, just really quick, did you like or dislike this duel, Brinton?
I enjoyed it. I actually considering that I was super bored with the last duel, considering I was bored. No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
All right, and Alex, like it or dislike it?
I liked it. I thought this was a good duel.
Yeah, now that I had to analyze it, it was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Because I like everybody remember, or at least for me, I remember all the schlock in every duel, but it actually occurred to me like not a whole lot of schlock actually happens in this duel. It's actually pretty serious because of the stakes that are involved. So at that point, It actually was fairly interesting to analyze and just find out how much I actually like this a lot more than some of the other duels that we've done. So at that point, what was a positive of this tag team duel, Alex?
For me, it's kind of like what you talked about in the opening. It's like it's two characters with vastly contrasting personalities and ideas now suddenly having to work together and having to try and tag team. But even then, it doesn't come as simple as you'd hope it would, of course, because it's Kaiba, and he's very set in his ways, and he's just like, I'm a loner, and I do things on my own, and I don't need anybody's help.
Yeah,
but he's
very
still
cold and calculated.
Yes. And, predictably so, he still does learn to kind of come turns to trust Yugi just a little bit.
So now that you've brought that up, here's a question for you. Now that you've seen Yugi duel with Joey and you've seen Yugi duel with Kaiba, who do you think is the better tag team partner for Yugi when it comes to duels like this? Like, which
That's
one
a
would get you
good-
the most excited to watch?
Probably Kaiba, just because I think Joey falls back on his old strategies too many times and too often.
I tend to agree.
And
I tend to agree.
with
I think
yeah.
Joey is basically a yes man to Yugi. He tries to help with Yugi's strategies, but ultimately it is Yugi that kind of carries that team. Whereas with Yugi and Kaiba, it could go either way. Both of them have really great decks, but because of their animosity towards one another, it really does make you wonder whether or not this is going to be the duel that they can't work together on,
Mhm.
or that their working together is going to be their downfall. What about you, Brenton? Would you prefer to have Yugi and Joey, or would you prefer Yugi and Kaiba?
I would prefer Yugi and Joey, if I'm to be honest.
Okay.
And for me, it's just more of the trust between Yugi and Joey. Throughout this entire competition, the Battle City tournament, we have seen Joey pull himself out of really crappy situations times and times again with his deck. So I think that he is able to complement Yugi, even if he is carried initially, which I will agree with. And the reason why I wouldn't and the reason why I would prefer that, I can get into a little bit more when we talk about what this duel did bad.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing: you have merit in that because while you were talking, I was thinking, oh wait, we have Waking the Dragon, not Waking the Dragons. We have Into the Shadow Realm when Yugi and Joey dueled Big Five, and that actually is a really good duel, and partially because now that Joey's had so many duels under his belt, he actually starts to feel like a player. He actually feels like he's not necessarily Kaiba's level, but he could totally take on a lot of the upcomers that Yugi has taken on. And so at that point, he actually is fairly competent in that duel. I completely forgot about that. And to say the negative for Kaiba, I have to think about Waking the Dragons because their tag team duel against Darts, Kaiba is ultimately the crutch of that duel, and actually hindered Yugi more times than he helped him. So it could go either way. I just think people like the animosity of Yugi and Kaiba because it's just like, oh, will they be able to work together? It's like, I hate to use the wrestling analogy, but it's like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. You're not sure if they're going to be working together today, but you're hoping. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of problems. So that being said, Brenton, do you another positive of
uh, what? So I loved Lumis and Umbra's decks. I thought this was the first time where I was just like, ooh, this is a really I'm enjoying watching the quote unquote villains
Yes.
completely grind the heroes beneath their souls. It was just really fun and engaging to watch how every move that they were making was just so beautifully set up, albeit the fact that they were speaking to each other with microphones.
Yes, but their decks were specifically made to kind of complement each other, and they both had the same themes and synergies in mind. It wouldn't actually surprise me if they had the same cards, a lot of the same cards in there.
And when they had and before they even initiated a duel, saying, our decks are made to counteract yours, I was like, oh my gosh, this again.
Oh, we'll get into that.
I was just like, okay, this is what the second or third time I'm hearing this,
No.
and it wasn't like other duels that Yugi has had to go through where it's I'm going to do this, well I'm going to do the same thing, and then it's just stalemate after stalemate.
Yep.
That was just boring and repetitive. I felt the stalemates were incredibly well thought out, completely strategic, and really truly combated Yugi and Kaiba's decks in the way that I would have liked to see them combated in previous duels. So I loved, like, I was really impressed with how well done the moves from the villains into heroes were throughout the entire 4 episodes.
Um, my positive actually goes in complement with yours, because one of the things I like about this duel especially is, like, when you follow story structure, there's just certain ways that things go. And in this particular case, Yugi and Kaiba pretty much start this duel on the ropes. They are having their asses handed to them in so many different ways because of the synergy between Lumis and Umbra. And then ultimately what happens in this duel is that shifts, and instead of Lumis and Umbra like synergistically working together, it's Yugi and Kaiba working together as best as they can while they're trying to tear apart Lumis and Umbra. So at that point, it's interesting how it starts up with, oh, we're this total awesome team and we're going to take you down, and then it ends with them actually destroying each other, which is, like, that's golden strategy on Kaiba's end. Like, he immediately planted that seed of doubt into both of them, and they became their own worst enemies. So I think that complements what you're saying as well. Any other positives that either of you want to bring up?
Um, I no, I don't have anything extra I would want to add.
Okay. Another positive that I'd add really quick is that we actually got to see a lot of Yugi and Kaiba's decks in this. Like, in the duels that we've seen up until this point, you get to see a bit of Yugi's deck, but most of the highlights are towards the usual monsters. In this one, we got to see some other monsters that hadn't been showcased yet, including the intro of Gamma the Magnet Warrior, because he hadn't been shown yet. We'd seen Alpha and Beta, but Gamma was the interesting one because it also allowed for the introduction of Valkyrian, which hadn't been seen up until this point, and then also showcasing a lot of the strategies that Kaiba has in his deck waiting for Yugi. Specifically, the one I'll bring up is the Ring of Destruction, Ring of Defense strategy that we'll see Kaiba use a lot in the finals. And it is a deadly combo. I'm not dissing him for it, but you're going to see it a lot, and it's primarily because it's a good combo, and I've actually seen a lot of pro decks use it too. So there's a reason for that. So I like that. Let's get into the negatives, and I'm going to start this off. The stakes of the duel. This is where 4Kids hurt this series so badly, and it only gets worse from here. Because all you had to do, I'm sorry, 4Kids, and I'm sorry to the censors, but the bottom line is, if you had just said, when this window explodes, they will fall to their death, that doesn't break any rules, that doesn't traumatize kids, because they're looking at this situation and going, well, they don't need to fall into the shadow realm, they'll just fall to the ground and die. And that's pretty much what happens in the manga, is they're supposed to fall to their doom and not enter the shadow realm halfway in. They are just supposed to fall and die. So I think that was a dumb thing for 4Kids to add in, just so they, I guess, could just once again show that death doesn't happen in this series. Right. So that's a negative for me. Brinton, a negative for you.
Um, oh my gosh, I was trying to re-rack my brain, even though I just literally, literally just finished watching the episodes. Not even, no, I guess an hour ago now. Um, oh, okay, here we go. So this was something you've already brought up, Adam, and this is actually this was something that you praised as, yeah, this was really good. While for me, I was super annoyed by it, and it was just like the whole dynamic between Kaiba and Yugi that super annoyed me. More so Kaiba than Yugi,
Yes.
because Yugi's heart is always just per plot in the right place.
Yes.
And it just super annoyed me how just Kaiba's attitude the entire time, and then just out of nowhere how he starts like winking at Yugi and feeding
he
him.
contradicts himself quite a bit in this duel, and he actually does try to help out, but in his way. So it's funny, like, he's supposed to be the cold, calculating individual, but then he actually is helping Yugi with strategy, even though he's said numerous times he's not going to do
Which was just super annoying to me. It's like, dude, you either shoot yourself in the foot
Yep.
and help your rival, or you don't. Like, just stop.
Do you want to know what would have made
annoying.
it worse, ultimately, though? If
Hmm.
Taya was in the audience. Because every single time, like, Taya has seen, like, a duel between Yugi and Kaiba, she is always chastising Kaiba. And I'm sorry, but Taya, it's falling on deaf ears. He does not care what you think.
No, he does not.
So at that point, it's just like, there's no point. You're wasting your breath. There are points where I'm even like, Yugi, just make your move and make him have to deal with what you do, because he's not gonna work with you. He's only going to do things that are in his benefit. And so there are a lot of moments where I'm like, Yugi, you are wasting your breath.
And then in that same vein, I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous how out of nowhere Lumis and Umbra started to doubt each other for whatever reason, and how Kaiba was like, "Ooh, I'm going to make the hole bigger," and I was like, "Dude, that's low."
Yes,
Like,
but it's not necessarily a low I couldn't see Kaiba doing.
I agree. I I I agree. I just don't like it.
Yeah. No. I
Um,
get it. I just think as far as story structure, it works because it basically changes the dynamic. Where the dynamic was what was this status quo, it is now flipped to the opposite, and I like how that played out here.
well, it's dumb.
It's basically the equivalent of, if anybody has ever seen like a Dragon Ball Z beam struggle, you know that it's gonna sit there even for a while, and then the villain's gonna get the upper hand, and then eventually the hero's gonna get it. That's what's happening here. And it's just more long and drawn out. Does it, and I hate to bring this up again, but does it need to be 4 episodes? No. They could have easily gone through the struggle a lot quicker. So I agree.
I think normally this is, I mean, as we've all three of us have repeatedly said throughout the entire series, is that, oh, I think maybe this many episodes or that many episodes. I think this could have been 3.
This
Like, I
easily
think,
could have been 3.
yeah, I think 3 would have been appropriate.
There's a lot of over explanation of the stakes in the first episode. They could have easily.
Which, once it went to like commercial and then comes back from commercial, they go back into the stakes again, and I wanted to reach through the screen and strangle both of them.
And every time I hear like the over explanation now, it's just like the Monty Python meme of "Get on with it," where the big army is like, "Get on with it."
No, really though, it was just whatever.
Yep.
So,
or either that or the like, we know.
And just like, and I mean, I get that. And then, like, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. I super get that Merrick, any chance he gets, is going to be like, "Don't forget, Pharaoh, I'm trying to get you a puzzle." And it's like, for the love of God, I don't care anymore. Yes. I know. Yes. I know. And there was so much of that. Like, the stakes were talked about the entire time. Like, Yugi, like Kaiba being just a little bitch the entire time. There was just so much unneeded conversation, unneeded repetition in what's already been stated. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm really enjoying this duel. I truly am. I just need you all to shut up and play the game.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, in that regard, I actually do have a question for you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, because Duelist Kingdom was before this. Is this the first time Kaiba went into the "I don't believe this" magic mumbo jumbo, or did he do that in Duelist Kingdom?
I don't remember.
I was curious about that too, Adam. That was something that came to mind.
Maybe he did when he dueled Pegasus, but I don't. No, I think he justified it when Pegasus was reading his mind. I think he justified it that he's just got a camera somewhere that is reading his cards. But I don't think we've gotten the whole I'm a cynic about all of this magic mumbo jumbo stuff until now when Lumis gets possessed at the end. I think this is the first time that's happened. And it's not going to be the last, because he's definitely going to do it in Waking the Dragons a lot. But I think this is the first occurrence of that. Alex, what is a negative for you?
The fact that Kaiba doesn't believe anything is like when Merrick starts taunting Yugi, which is also a problem, I think, in this. That's another negative. But the fact that Kaiba's like, oh, that's ridiculous, Yugi. Like, Kaiba, why is that ridiculous yet? Yugi's growing about 5 feet and having a suddenly deep voice.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I completely forgot about this. He saw Pegasus put Mokuba's soul in a card.
Yes, exactly.
So he's seen magic mumbo jumbo, and I guess he justified the hell out of that. Sorry, Alex. So okay,
No,
that's fine.
That,
like,
wow, sorry.
I don't know if he's that. It's like I don't know if he's doubting that Merrick is controlling the guy, or if he really is just like, I don't believe this weird magic. But either way, it still seems ridiculous that he's doubtful either way. Because again, just all he has to do is look to the side and look at Yugi, who, again, when Yami takes over, grows about another foot and has a suddenly much deeper voice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the little Karibo joke all over again. Did you go through puberty in 15 seconds?
Yes.
Your
testicles just drop.
Yes. Did your testicles just drop? Yes, exactly. So yeah, no, it definitely gets old, and in my opinion, in Waking the Dragons, it gets super old. Because like he has in that arc, correct me if I'm wrong, Brenton, it is staring him in the face, and he is still denying it.
I mean, that is some pretty intense delusion.
Yes.
And denial. Like,
I mean, he spent how many duels in the Seal of Orichalcos, and he saw it he saw it take effect in those duels, and no, he still doesn't believe.
I mean, good for him, I guess.
I guess the people that lost their souls are just super lazy and they just don't want to get up, according to Kaiba.
I mean, if Kaiba can go to bed at night completely, like, undisturbed, blessed, thriving, and staying in his own lane, then all the merrier to him, I suppose.
Exactly. Oh, and let's completely ignore Into the Shadow Realm, where his stepfather literally tried to possess his body. So, okay. I'm gonna let Brinton go now. Like, what's another negative for you, Brinton?
Oh, I actually didn't have any more thoughts beyond what I've already shared. Like that, truly, that was one of the. Well, everything I said was pretty much what annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
That I.
I'll tell you guys one negative of doing this podcast today, and I hate to spoil this right here now, but we only have 2 fouls in this duel. Believe it or not, a lot, according to the TCG rules, a lot of these cards were played right. So
actually, yeah.
For all the people loving the TNG sirens that I put up there, there's not going to be many in this one. Sorry.
I was because of how much I was really paying attention to what was going on. I was like, wow, everything's actually playing out as it's supposed to.
I looked up all the cards, and technically, I looked at how the card was phrased, and I'm like, technically they are using it right. And I looked, guys, I looked to make sure that they used Mask Beast Descardius right. I made sure to check if all the masks were used right. And no, they were all properly executed. I'll explain the 2 fouls, but for the most part, this duel executed well. So at that point, for those who love the siren, you're not going to get it much in this episode, and I'm sorry about that. But Brinton, usually this is the point where we go over our notes. Brinton, do you have any notes for this one?
Not this time, unfortunately. And since I start,
people are going to be disappointed. I don't have that many either.
Well, I mean, people are going to have to be even more disappointed with me because since I'm starting grad school Monday, my ability to be able to take proper notes will it's not happening. So
yeah. Well,
sorry.
Thankfully, that's why I kind of bullet point some of the plot stuff so that we can make sure to talk about it, like Tristan and Serenity and stuff like that.
Well, we appreciate it, Adam.
Here are my notes according to Double Duel. First of all, oh no, Bakura's sleeve is torn. He's obviously been beaten within an inch of his life. Good lord, how do these kids keep falling for this? That's basically the D plot here, is that Merrick and Bakura are working together, and Bakura gets taken to the hospital by Solomon Moto, and this will play out in later episodes, but not till then. So it's just like, but the way that they said it was, no, I'm not going to rough you up and make it look like you've been a fight. We're just going to tear your sleeve. That's how people are going to know you've been in a fight.
Teenagers are dumb, Adam. That's why they keep falling for this shit.
I mean, for the record, and Alex can back me up on this, at least Colonel Flag, like, broke his arm when he was trying to show that a fight happened.
Yeah,
it's hard to reference. It's hard to reference MASH with Yu-Gi-Oh, but it does work in this regard. So the next thing I had is, lol, while Joey and crew put Bakura in a cab, Yugi and Kaiba literally pass by. I loved that. They were putting Bakura in a cab, and Yugi and Kaiba passed by saying, okay, this was the last known location of Joey's dual disc, and they still can't find him. Apparently, a cab is the only thing that needs to be between them for them to not see each other.
I'll keep that in mind when I'm...
Also, for the record, Domino must be a really small city, if you think about it.
I'm going to now put myself between a cab and somebody who I want to avoid moving forward in my life.
Yeah. So, like, if you don't have those TPS reports for your boss, just make sure that there's like an Uber driver in your way, and you'll be totally fine.
I can't get away with that.
That's what anime
Adam
has taught us today. So,
I was talking about maybe if I'm like encountering somebody on the streets I don't want to talk to. I can't really get away with that with my job, but I will try.
You have that one crazy ex-boyfriend, and it's just like, oh, there's a cab. I'll hide behind there. He won't see me.
I do have a crazy ex-boyfriend.
You do.
I divorced him.
Yes, you did. So all you need to do is hide behind an Uber driver, and he'll never see you.
Done and done.
All right, this is what anime has taught us. The more you know, everybody.
Thanks, anime.
Good Lord Namu. Oh, God. Oh. How is it Merrick is even cheesier when he's trying to act like a good guy? He was already cheesy to begin with, but then, oh, hey, Joey, I'm in this tournament too. The cheese just is going into my veins at this point.
Thanks,
so
90s voice acting.
I'm not even going to blame 90s voice acting. I think this was a 4Kids issue. Like, the voice director just told him to go all high-pitched, and that's how they know you're good. It's like, come on, man. Even Andrea Romano wouldn't do that shit. So yeah, and then also just Namu is, I get that he's trying to think of like an Egyptian name, and that's the one that came to mind, but at that point, it's just still a facepalm inducing moment. Holy crap, Merrick hatching a scheme to distract Yugi while he captures his friends. How villainous! I actually like this scene where he was actually having a conversation with Lumis and Umbra, as well as his other rare hunters, saying, hey, Lumis, hey, Umbra, go distract Yugi and Kaiba while my fellow rare hunters are going to help me capture Joey and Taya. And I think later he took care of Mokuba, because he didn't mention Mokuba in this thing, but you actually get to see his plan unfold, and he does look menacing, and the plan is kind of villainous. So, like, for all the times that we've ripped Merrick a new one, these episodes did a really good job of showing him as a villain. And you guys are going to see that in my notes. So, that plan went off without a hitch. Nice job, Merrick. Literally 5 seconds after he does this exposition, he's already captured Taya and Joey. Mission accomplished. What does that say for Taya and Joey? They are both easily caught.
Well, yeah. I've already said teenagers are stupid.
These teenagers especially.
I was a stupid teenager. I'll admit to it.
Oh, no. I'm saying especially these ones. I mean, for crying out loud, Taya let Joey use her cell phone. And she didn't think he was going to do something stupid with it. I'm kind of surprised he didn't Super Bowl spike it into the ground. And what's worse is, like, that was one of those mini phones, man. Those are, back in the 90s, those are hard to replace.
And they were not
Yeah.
cheap.
No,
But this is
I mean, in
like
Japan,
the
they would
early
probably have been a
2000s by that
moniker
point.
cheaper, but not by much. Sorry, Alex, I cut you off.
I'm just saying, well, this was the early 2000s by this point, so
No,
I
that's
think
true,
they're a
yeah.
little
Early
easier to
2000s.
come by.
But the anime would have come out in the 90s before that, though, didn't it?
No, it was
Okay.
still the 2000s. It's like we're only talking months between Japan release and US release.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because that was when the line there was starting to blur. So there you go. I love this. So Kaiba says, "My system is foolproof, Yugi." Except for all the times it has been foolproof. it has been absolutely foolproof. I especially love the concept of, once again, Joey's dual disc has gone off the network, and Kaiba doesn't know where it is. Did you check the same destination that turned off Yugi's?
I mean, that definitely is going to get old fast if it hasn't already.
Kaiba, this is why you don't hire the Industrial Illusions people. Because obviously they fucked up at Duelist Kingdom, so why would you bring them on as employees? So at that, then we also have, Joey's gone off the grid. That was literally going off in my head when that happened. Because, like, when Mokuba was explaining to Kaiba that he's gone off the grid, I'm just like, in fact, Future Drac, put that in. Also, dude, Odeon looks badass. Like, we've complained about Merrick's outfit here, where he's supposed to be looking like a civilian, and holy shit, Odeon has looked menacing as hell. Like, the way he's got his robe set up, where it's got the pants on there and he's got the hood and you can just barely see the tattoos on his face. He looks absolutely creepy in these ones. So I had to mention that. Odeon looks fucking badass right now. Sorry, I was interrupting somebody.
No, you weren't. No, we're just listening to you.
Okay. And then also, I had an ADD moment. This is when Yugi and Joey are walking down the street after they went to the Sea World and Joey wasn't there. So they're walking down the street while Mokuba tries to track down Joey. So I had an ADD moment. What is small talk for Yugi and Kaiba as they stroll down the road?
I don't know, probably just awkward silence.
Do they talk about, like, the latest cards that have been banned in the TCG?
Probably not.
It's probably they just threaten each other?
Kaiba's probably just swinging around his dick, being like, look how big it is. And Yuki's like, whatever.
Look how much money I can spend in a day, Yugi. Yeah, that's probably what's happening. But the other thing that came to my mind is, hey, Kaiba, have you ever thought about kissing? Because I know that there's got to be some fanfic that has done that already. Just kiss me, Yugi. Just kiss me.
Oh, for sure. I could probably find something by the end of the episode.
This was me and Aldo in Digimon Tri, where, like, they were having all the soft moments between Ty and Matt, and we were just, like, screaming, "Just kiss already!" That's Yugi and Kaiba in a lot of cases. So then, and Mokuba's hanging out of the helicopter. Well, yes, Kaiba's interested in this now. They went out of their way to show Kaiba doesn't give two craps about what is going on with Yugi right now. And then here comes Mokuba hanging from a helicopter. Well, I guess he has a reason to care now. I love it. So that's your motivation, Kaiba. Lumis and Umbra, from bumblers to menacing in 2 to 3 episodes. A real anime success story. It just hits you right here. And then, good God, 4 kids! If they lose, they fall to their death! Why can't it be that simple? I was mad when this thing came up. I'm just like, come on! They will die if they fall! This will kill them!
What'd you really expect? It's 4 kids. They're never going to acknowledge death.
I know, but it's just like, damn it.
Even in their Sonic X dub, when characters clearly died in the game, canonically, no.
No, they can't.
Kids wouldn't let it happen.
I mean, the same thing is true of, like, but here's the funny part. Okay, they can't mention that somebody's gonna die in Yu-Gi-Oh, And I don't know if you remember this, guys, but like at the end of season 2 of the 2003 Turtles, which was done by 4Kids, they literally decapitate the Shredder on camera. He goes, "Omae wa de shindaru," on camera. And no, 4Kids was totally okay with that.
Oh, wow. I have no idea then.
Yeah, no, they had no problem with it in Turtles, but apparently in Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, that's all kinds of effed up that they're gonna fall to their death. Come on, most stuff that I watched in the 80s and 90s like had people falling off of cliffs.
What a weird, inconsistent standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why 4Kids isn't around anymore.
Oh, they are. They're just part of Konami now.
Yeah, they're part of Konami.
4K media.
I mean, it is a double standard because, like you were pointing out, they did that in Sonic X, and then they also did that in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think also Shaman King was dubbed by them, and they also kind of avoided a lot of the dark stuff in that. But then TMNT comes along, and they decapitate the Shredder at the end of season 2, and I think it even gets worse from there. Like, season 4 is, in some cases, a gore fest. I might need to double check that, but I think it actually gets super dark. Because that's one of the biggest complaints about the 2003 version, is that it eventually gets really, really dark and then goes right back to being kiddie all over again. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on at 4Kids, but apparently their censor guy got fired and somebody new got hired and fired. Then Brinton already brought this up. Our decks have been assembled to take down Obelisk and Slifer. I'm having a tremendous feeling of deja vu, only because this has happened like 5 times now. Either that or Merrick sucks at deck construction. I'm gonna go with Merrick sucks at deck construction. Because, yeah, no, this is... So, first it was Bandit Keith, where Merrick specifically made his deck to be able to take out Yugi. Didn't work. We can't blame Rare Motherfucking Hunter because he built his deck. Merrick didn't do it. But it was specifically built to get Exodia out on the field. Arcana openly admitted that his deck was built to beat Yugi's Dark Magician. And then, of course, Strings, who had this deck built for the perfect strategy for Slifer. This is like 4 to 5 times now, where decks have been specifically constructed to take down Yugi, and they fail. Fail hard, in fact. So, yeah, I think it's official. Merrick just sucks at constructing decks.
It actually makes me wonder what his own deck is constructed as, because we will see him duel.
Yes, and actually a lot of the elements in these previous duels are part of his deck. So at that point, we will see some of this stuff coming out, but in my opinion, Merrick uses them better. And that's just because he knows the cards better, ultimately. So yeah, I had that. Then teamwork is for Boy Scouts and nursery schools. Classic Kaiba.
Yeah.
I actually like that line from him. I'm like, yep, that's definitely something Kaiba would have said. Here we have another ADD moment. So they're fighting at the top of a business building, right? What are the people below them thinking about when they see 4 idiots standing on the ceiling window playing a card game?
Just another day here in Domino City.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Like, there's four idiots standing on the ceiling window. Hey, do you want to go to McDonald's for lunch, or do you want to go to Burger King? Okay.
Sorry, Adam, but it would be WickDonald's and Burger Queen.
Yeah, exactly. No, it would be WhackDonald's. If Inuyasha has taught me anything, it's WhackDonald's.
Exactly. WhackDonald's or WickDonald's, either one, they're both interchangeable.
Yep.
That's fine.
Or Burger Prince. It would totally be Burger Prince.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an ADD moment. Holy shit, the schmucks are out dueling Kaiba. I actually did, so like the first couple of rounds where Lumis and Umbra very much put Yugi and Kaiba on the ropes, it was kind of satisfying to see somebody putting Kaiba on the ropes, because up until this point, you know that he's had like this serious win streak where he's just been very happy to squash everybody with Obelisk. And you got to keep in mind, before that, he was crushed by Pegasus. So he's having like a really good win streak, and they are just trouncing him. So it's kind of satisfying to see that happen to him. And also the fact that they are dueling schmucks, and they're doing that to Kaiba. Also, Taya went through a bunch of boxes. Were AVGN and Nostalgia Critic fighting nearby? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
I guess so. There's a warehouse though, so I guess it's reasonable that there be boxes.
No. I'm totally cool with that, but that was the first thing that I thought of, is like, AVGN. Wait, Nostalgia Critic too. As soon as that happened. This is, I guess some people would call it a foul. I don't call it that. In my opinion, they should have used the Karibo multiply strategy in the actual TCG. Because the way that they use it in this is just like, oh, multiply Karibo, you get the invincible wall, right? And that's cool and all, but that's basically what would happen if you regular summon Karibo anyway, because his use effect is to basically negate a battle phase. So you would have gotten that anyway. If they'd used it in the TCG, the way that it works is multiply basically creates Karibo tokens on every available monster zone that is on that field. And so I'm guessing with a tag duel, it would have included Kaiba's, so they would have had so many monsters to tribute summon if they were allowed to. That actually would have been like a perfect strategy there. It would basically be like, well, let's see, they both had one monster each on the field, so it would have been 4 Karibo tokens each. And those are like scapegoats. You can sacrifice them. So at that point, that would have made the duel way more interesting, in my opinion. So again, not a foul, but definitely would have made it cooler.
That's what I was saying a bit ago. Like there was, like, I was thoroughly entertained. Everything. Wow, all moves that were made were very strategic, well done. It only really got sloppy towards the end when, per my critique of the duel, Kaiba was like tearing Lumis and Umbra apart, so kind of making them second guess how to play their moves. Otherwise, I really enjoyed what I watched.
Yeah, so I mean, I would have liked to have seen that strategy, but I know why they did that, because that's the typical one. But the funniest part of that is, in later duels, when Yugi uses Karibo, they use that effect anyway to explain Karibo's effect. So it's basically because Karibo will negate a battle phase. So at that point, yeah, he multiplies into a bunch of little so at that point, you don't even need multiply. I love the tag style of Yugi and Kaiba. Way more interesting than Joey. And I just like the fact, because they are, like, Kaiba is just such a wasp to Yugi. He's just like that rich wasp that's condescending all the time to Yugi. And it just works. It's totally Kaiba's character to do that. So this is Kaiba. No one disrespects my family and gets away with it. Except you, Kaiba. Again, this is referencing into the Shadow Realm, where Yugi's not kind, or Kaiba's not kind to Mokuba. He's very not. So yeah, I just love that. Nobody disrespect my family. You do all the time. Okay. So question, and this is a legit question that I actually discussed with other people, so I want to get you guys' opinions. As you mentioned, Brinton, Lumis and Umbra have headsets in their masks. So at that point, they not only have a microphone in the mask, but they also have an earpiece where they can hear the other. In your opinion, is this cheating?
Since it's a 2v2, I'm going to say no, because how else are they going to be able to coordinate with each other?
This is definitely one of those times where it's very gray, because given the circumstances, I don't see a rule where that would be a problem. Alex, where are you at on it?
Well, I agree with Brenton. I don't really see a problem with it, because again, it's a 2v2 battle. They're communicating with each other. They're not like, it's not like a guy perched off on a building somewhere with binoculars.
See, I saw a lot of people making compelling argument, or like having this discussion. I saw a lot of compelling arguments where it could be construed as cheating because Yugi and Kaiba don't know about it, or because, like, as we've heard numerous times, like, their decks were constructed, so obviously There are perks in each deck that can be utilized. So maybe it is like there isn't that random nature. They're able to complement each other. But in those cases, like the thing that I think of is like, okay, because up until this point, one other tag duel happened, and that was Para and Dox versus Yugi and Joey. And the question I have is, would it really have changed that duel if Yugi and Joey and Para and Dox could like discuss their strategies together privately? I don't think it would have changed much. And so at that point, I'm on the opinion that this isn't cheating. I could see why people would think it is, but I just don't see a rule that this breaks. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just don't see a rule that this breaks.
Yeah, I really don't either. Because again, it's just they're just talking to each other with microphones. It's
this isn't
not really
blatantly
any
like
different.
this isn't blatantly giving yourself an advantage, like marking your cards with a quote invisible ink. This is very like their decks still work the way that they work. It's just that now they can say, "Oh, I have this in my hand, so I can definitely secure this turn for us." But
Yeah,
I honestly think if they didn't have them, they'd probably just be saying it. So
yeah,
yeah,
they would just be whispering it to each other otherwise.
I don't even think they'd be whispering it. I think they were so confident at a point they would probably just be announcing their strategy because they just
Could
felt
be,
like they
yeah.
had them on the ropes. That's the thing. Like they got ultimately what hurt Lumis and Umbra in the long run was they got overconfident. First as a team and then in themselves. So at that point, that's how Kaiba was able to exploit them. So yeah, I had that question. I wanted to bring it up with you guys. Okay, so this was actually a good moment with Merrick. Odeon standing in front of Joey while behind Merrick is gaining control. That's fucking genius. Especially considering what happens later, where Merrick basically tells Odeon at the finals, "You are me." And I think that's why he did it, is because he wanted to build this up and he didn't want them to see who was controlling them. I saw Alex come up a couple times. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're perfectly fine there.
I think
agree.
I think that was amazing. And then what made it even better is when they go to Taya, you still can't see Merrick anywhere. You see Odeon's towering figure and then Joey in front of him. And that's what sets her off. And I'm guaranteeing you Merrick was behind Odeon and then controlled Taya. So at that point, yeah, no, that was good villain tactics right there, Merrick. So I'll give you some compliments there. Lol, Kaiba gets so triggered when Yugi helps him. Did you guys notice that? Whenever Yugi actually did help him, he would get so pissed in his head. He's like, "I don't need your help to win, Yugi."
Yeah, boyfriend has trauma.
He does. He absolutely does. This is one of those moments where I was just like, just kiss already, man. You know you want to.
Just go at it on the roof of a skyscraper.
I guess so. That at least it would be more entertaining to the office workers. So then here it comes. Here was the train ride for Tristan and Serenity. Poor Tristan. He got friend zoned. Sorry, not sorry. I really don't feel bad for him. And now we can officially get into the fouls. So the first foul is on Yugi. Defusion cannot separate Valkyrian the Magna Warrior because it is not a fusion monster. I went and read the fine print of the text of these cards. This is how in-depth I went to try and find fault in some strategies. And if people remember the moment when Kaiba basically, or I think it was Lumis and Umbra that split them ultimately, but then they took Valkyrian and they made them the three Magnet Warriors again. And here it literally says this on the card Defusion. It only works on fusion monsters. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, each monster card has its own specific coloration. For example, regular monsters are a light brown. Effect monsters, which is what Valkyrian is, is dark brown, which is actually shown in this duel. It is a dark brown card. Fusion monsters, which this would affect, are purple. So that's when it's classified as a fusion monster. So technically, Defusion would have done jack shit. He would have wasted his card for nothing.
Yeah.
And our second foul is on Kaiba. So technically 2 strikes on their team. Soul Exchange only works on 1 targeted monster, not 3, so Obelisk can't be summoned. The way that Soul Exchange works is that you get to use a monster on your opponent's side of the field, as well as if you have one on your side of the field, to be able to tribute summon. And at this point, the tribute summon would be counted as a special summon. So for all the people that want to scream at me, Mask of Restrict! No, it actually says it in Soul Exchange. It considers it a special summon, which would basically be the equivalent of like a monster reborn. But you can only do it on 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field and 1 monster on your side of the field. You can't do 3. So at that point, no, Obelisk should not be out on the field. And that's it. That's all the fouls for this duel. My next note is, why did Obelisk get an extra 850 attack and defense points? I was not able to find an answer for this. If people want to point this out to me, I would really like to know. But Obelisk literally came on the field with 4,850 attack points and defense points. And I don't know where he got that from. Did you guys notice that?
I don't know where he would have gotten it.
No, there was no other equipment cards on the field that would have done that. Because all the equipment cards were basically gotten rid of at that point. And,
yeah, you're right.
Yep. So I don't know where he got it, but apparently he got it. Is it official? Can we call this Battle City bollocks?
I mean, the technical term is continuity error, but
yeah,
sure.
Continuity error. Battle City bollocks. And then the last thing that I had is, I call bullshit. Fucking parachutes? Bullshit. We'd see those under their cloaks, and they would be a lot more bulky, by the way, because these were big ass chutes. So ultimately, if Lumis and Umbra lost, they would have had parachutes. We would have seen those. Bullshit! I call bullshit!
Yeah, that was dumb.
This is the equivalent of somebody playing an MMO going, hacks! I call hacks! Because there's no way that we wouldn't see that. And I'm still mad at that. I'm just like, no, they should have fallen to their death. Oh, wait, 4 kids. Except it isn't 4 kids, because this also happened in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel. So, who would I blame at that point? Who actually animated this?
Gallop, I believe.
Them. I blame you! They should have fallen. For crying out loud, they made Arcana go through his penalty. Make these guys. But no, they had parachutes. And that's all I've got. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of notes here because, believe it or not, this duel was actually pretty expertly executed. There really wasn't many cards that weren't used right, aside from the ones that I pointed out. And trust me, I looked at all the text, especially on a lot of the cards that I didn't really know. And I mean, maybe an argument could be made with how those worked, but I just looked at those and went, there's just not a good enough argument. I think that they would still have been able to use those cards the way that they intended in this duel. And for all the people that want to say I didn't try, you go watch this duel and you tell me. That's basically all I got. But out of 5, what would you guys give the Double Trouble duel? Alex.
I gave it a 4.
Okay. And what kept it from getting a 5?
Some of the boring B and C, D plots.
Yes.
No, the B plot's fine. It's mostly the C and pointless D plot, plus the parachutes, like you mentioned, that was dumb.
Plus all the exposition, plus the first episode kind of being unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. Brinton, out of 5, what would you give the Double Trouble duel?
I am also giving this a 4.
Okay.
which is the highest rating I've given so far in any duel we reviewed.
I could have sworn you've given a 4 before.
Nope, this is the very first 4 I've given.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen on that because I could have sworn
If
I
I'm
heard one.
if I'm wrong, let me know. Otherwise, I believe this is the first time I've spoken highly of a duel.
All right. And for me, I actually am gonna go above you guys. I got a 4.5 out of 5. And the main reason I have it is because I was actually pleasantly surprised that most of the cards in this duel were used properly, that a lot of the way that the story was executed was actually really good, but it did have those minor things like actual stakes and the parachutes and uh all that did bug the living hell out of me, especially the C and D plot with Bakura and Solomon and Tristan and Serenity. It was just unnecessary. And I actually agree with Alex. The Tristan and Serenity stuff was essential for the next duel. It didn't really help having it here. It really didn't. And they could have easily put that into that duel as kind of a hype, and it probably would have worked better. But ultimately, yeah. So you guys are giving it 4. I'm giving it 4.5. It was actually a lot more well executed than I thought it was going to be. So I'm pleasantly happy, and that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode. So when we come back, we're going to be coming to not one of my favorite duels in all of Battle City. I have a feeling I'm still going to have issues with this duel, but it is going to be Yugi versus Joey, or at least Merrick possessing Joey in Battle City, as we get to have this epic duel finally happen again. So thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. We really do appreciate it. And if you are brand spanking new, make sure to give a like and subscribe on YouTube. We definitely appreciate it. Also on all of the podcast platforms that we are on, which is Amazon, Apple, and Google Podcasts, as well as Player.fm and Spotify. Make sure to leave us a like, a comment. All of that goes a great deal towards helping advertise the podcast, so we really do appreciate it. And we will see you guys for Yugi versus Joey. Until then, take care, my friends. And Alex and Brinton, thank you for joining me on this. I hope you guys can stomach the next duel, because I'm going to have some serious problems.
Oh boy, what a cliffhanger.